Welcome to this update video for the IKFK switcher. Before I cover what's been changed, if this is your first time checking out the script, I suggest you head on over to my Gumroad. I have an explanation video here covering, the main functionalities of the script and all of that. And you'll notice that some of the options here have been changed somewhat, but the main way the script works is still very much the same. So check this out, then come back to learn about the updates. So regarding the updates, the main thing that you can do now is apply one of these setups on a specific time range. So what problem does this solve? Let's see what we got here. So I have just a simple animation of Aang trying to push the cube. Now I want to apply a temporary IK setup, so I have my control selected, I apply it, and animation's still the same. Now, starting from frame, let's say the contact point is frame 20, I want the hands to be fixated on the cube while the body pushes in towards them. You can do that by copying the value of frame 20 and maybe starting on frame, not starting, but going over to frame 45. You can copy the value and just delete everything in between. Auto tangent, and then you get this behavior, which is fine. And then here I might have to ease out the transition. So there you go. Now the problem here is that you get a key on every other frame where you don't really need the IK behavior, and this might be okay with a shot that's like 60 frames long, but if you get like over 100 or 200 frames for your animation, this may become a problem where you just want the IK behavior on a specific portion, but you have to now deal with it placing a key on every other frame. Now, if I go back to my original state, see I got a key on every frame, this is not ideal. So that's where the update comes in, where, let me just go back to the original. So my controls are still selected, and after you've selected them, I can drag shift select over my timeline here, and I'm just gonna apply it up until like maybe frame 41. Hit FK to IK, and now as you can see, when within the time range, the temp locator setup is visible, but when you go outside of it, it's not, and you can't influence the hand. Whereas now, outside of the time range, you have your normal FK setup, which you can make changes to it however you want, but when you go inside of the time range, you can make changes, but it'll instantly snap back to because your IK setup is controlling it. So this just gives you more flexibility when working, because well, let's make the changes we want. So I'm here on frame 20, let's say, and so the translate Z is the forward direction, so I want to delete, so I'm gonna copy frame 20's value, go on over to frame, let's say 45, delete the translate Z of everything in between, auto tangent, so I get this. Now obviously here, so I've purposefully added a bit of padding, so I didn't apply the setup up until here, because I wanted to soften the padding here on the out transition. So I get this. Obviously you can tweak it a bit, like here I have maybe a bit of a harsh transition, so I can, let's see what I can do about that. Maybe I can maybe here I can ease in the transition a bit, something like this. Obviously you can play around with that, but I can go here maybe. Yep, something like that. And now if I want to go back, let me bring up the script again. It's right here. I can just hit delete setup, and as you can see, it only applied keyframes on the time range that that the setup was on. So you got this, and from here, that's kind of it. Obviously, this is one way to utilize the IK. There's many other situations where you may need it. For example, like maybe you want to go from when you're jumping, maybe your feet are in IK, but during the jump you want to switch them over to FK because maybe that's your preferred way to work. Maybe it eases the animation process for you. So during the jump, while he's in air, you can apply the FK setup, and then when he's down, it's still an IK. So that's it for that. Now, some of the other features I want to show you are these, which are basically a couple of options you have for reducing the amount of keys that the script gives you when breaking across. So let's see. I'm just gonna go back. So first is the bake interval, which is basically baking on 1s, 2s, 3s, or 4s. If I set it to 4 and I apply the setup, you see it puts off a key on every 4th frame, so pretty self-explanatory. The reduce keys is basically like just an overall. Maya tries to reduce as many keys as it can, depending on the intensity you set. It tries to remove the keys while still preserving the shape of the curve, so that your animation is still the same. Now, depending on the intensity, the more intense this gets, well, let's just see what happens when it's set to 1. So this is what I get. Obviously, the bigger the intensity, the less keys you'll have, but the more animation you risk losing a bit of animation data. So maybe this is good, for like early on when you want to go back and forth, but you're not trying to be too precious with your animation just yet. But towards the end, when you start polishing, you might want to turn this off just to preserve your animation like 1-to-1. And what this does, this last option, is I'll just switch over to a different Maya scene where, so here I have a normal, like a very simple animation of Aang moving his hand, in all sorts of directions, and it's in stepped. So what you can do is, if you have this on, it's and you apply the IK setup in this case, it will apply it and delete all the keys on the curve that are of the same value. So you still have your, all the same key poses. It's in stepped, and everything in between, every key that would have been here in between these main poses is deleted because it's redundant. There's no need for it. And then you want to go back. It's still the same. Well, let's just make a few changes. Maybe I can do this. Put this here. Maybe do something like here. Okay, so those are the changes. Remember to have this ticked on. Delete setup. And the changes have been made. So if you like working in stepped at the start and you want to go back and forth between these setups, you can do that. Without having a lot of keys everywhere. That's it for the main features that have been updated. There's a few other quality of life changes that have been made, which you can see. There's the color added on the locators. There's the as opposed to the previous version where you had to manually adjust the size of the controls. This script kind of does it automatically for you. You have a documentations button here, which takes you to the Gumroad page, which will be updated by the time this video gets released. You'll have, more detailed explanation of some of these things, so you can always refer to that if you need to. And And yeah, if you've got any feedback or ways that the script can be improved, feel free to reach out. My socials are right here, and yeah, thank you for using it.